Oh my God. Ozzy Osbourne is the Prince of Darkness, and I am the Prince of Airworthiness. What is going on, YouTube? I am excited to bring y'all a project that has not been on the channel yet. And it hasn't been on the channel because it's something me and my buddy Darren worked on long before I was doing YouTube. Now, Darren is with me off camera. He doesn't want to be on camera, and I'm going to respect that. But he is actually my mentor. He is one of the mechanics that taught me everything I knew when I first got my AMP almost 8 years ago. So, without any further ado, I'm going to show y'all what we did to this, and then I'm just going to set the camera up, and I'm going to continue my conversation on running lean because I got a lot of questions about it and I'd like to address them. So I single-handedly, by myself, with no help from anyone, installed all of these avionics I'm about to show you. So what we did to this aircraft, and this was probably a little over a year and a half ago because it was before I hit the deer on my motorcycle. I actually hit the deer on my motorcycle when we were working on this and left Darren alone for about the last 6 weeks of the project. But we did Dynon, what is it, a 10-inch? 10-inch. And a 7-inch? So anyways, what we did was a Dynon 10-inch and a 7-inch screen on a one-piece panel in the front. And we also did a 10-inch screen in the rear. So now this is probably the first and only T-34 to have a Dynon 10 and 7-inch screen in it, but it was a really cool project. So I'll fire that up for you guys a little bit later towards the end of the video, so stick around for that. So I wanted to take a moment and address some of the questions that I got on my video about running lean of peak. So just a reminder, if you didn't watch that video, go watch that video. But to run lean of peak means that when in cruise power setting at cruise flight, to lean the engine past the peak horsepower and run on the lean side, or to run with less fuel than is needed for combustion. And you're essentially counting on the air that's in the engine to cool the exhaust valves and the cylinder heads. And I wanted to address some of the scenarios and times that you may lean your aircraft, that you should still lean your aircraft, I should say, even if you're not trying to run lean of peak. So one of those is leaning on the ground. And the reason a lot of times you lean on the ground and you can get away with leaning on the ground is because there is not enough heat and pressure inside the engine cylinders to burn off the tetraethyl lead and fully scavenge it out of the exhaust system. So one of the things that you will have happen is lead fouling. Now, we did have a 172 at the flight school that I used to work for, and I'm not kidding, it would lead foul within a few minutes of idling. So as soon as you started it on the ground, you were pulling it back, or pulling the mixture out, I should say, to keep it from fouling the spark plugs and having issues on the ground. One of the other questions that I got that I wanted to go ahead and address, because I think it's also kind of important, is leaning with altitude. You are going to have to lean with altitude, even if your engine is carbureted, to keep the engine from running too rich. And obviously the higher you go in altitude, the more you have to pull the mixture out. So with that being said, if you're using a carburetor, or if you're fuel injected for that matter, and you're leaning for altitude, it's important that you are 50 or so RPMs above or below the peak number. So if you're pulling the mixture back and the RPMs are beginning to rise because the engine is running better and better and better, when the RPMs reach their maximum, so let's say it reaches 2400 RPMs, and as you continue to pull the mixture, it starts falling back off. That 2400 RPMs is considered the peak. So if you push the mixture back in rich, about 50 RPMs above that, that would be rich of peak. So anyways, I hope that cleared some of that up. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of this video on the T-34 as we work on it and finish this little project. One quick note to add here at the end is that if you do have a constant speed propeller, leaning will not affect RPMs, because as the engine leans, the propeller is going to either travel to a low pitch or to a high pitch to maintain engine speed. So with a constant speed propeller, it's very important to have a temperature monitoring system and a lean finder to help you do that. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to make a determination based on RPM that you are lean of peak or rich of piece. So as promised, you have got to check out this panel. This is something me and Darren did. Darren was obviously the IA on it. I am an IA as well, but he was the IA on it. So you have your Dynon 10, which is really cool because it allows you to do some different things. Like you can do a PFD. Sorry, it doesn't know where we're at because we're in the hangar and on jacks, but you can do a PFD, you can do a full screen of map, you can put your engine on here, but because we have the 7-inch screen, we've got all the engine instruments over here. So you don't really need that, but I can always go back to, you know, the PFD. And then it also has a Lynx L3 transponder with ADS-B in and out, and the traffic displays here. I mean, all in all, it was a whole lot of work. I wish I had grabbed my GoPro and thought about it back when we did all of this, because I think it's an absolutely beautiful array of instruments, especially in a 1953 T-34, and it was surprisingly user-friendly to install. And if you're saying, well, Dynon is only for experimentals, they actually have been approved for certified aircraft, and that's what this is. This is a Dynon certified system. So if you're wondering, what is a T-34? Well, it's not a tank. I'm lying to you. It is a tank, but this is a Beech T-34, and it was originally designed post-World War II as a trainer aircraft for the Air Force and for the Navy. Now, the reason this one has this particular paint scheme on it is because it's flown by Tex Hill. It's a very cool, very old airplane. This one is a 1953, and it's just something about having that avionics package in there that we did to it is really cool. But this and a Bonanza, I'm sure you're familiar with a Bonanza. If you're not, it's what killed Buddy Holly. This and a Bonanza are almost exactly the same from the wing root out, from the empennage back, and from the firewall forward. The only thing that changes really is the center section, which is obviously tandem and not side by side. And it does have an inverted oil tank, so this is a fully aerobatic aircraft. So that's probably going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you found it enjoyable. My buddy Darren is actually doing an annual on this one. He is also an IA. So we're going to swing the gear on it a few times. I will put that after the post-credit, as they say. But as always, leave us a like, leave us a comment, subscribe. Don't forget to join the Discord. Follow me on Instagram. And as always, go build something and be easy.